Sunday, Charlie Kirk Remembrance Ceremony is about to start. I see some estimates saying there are 300,000 people there. Huge event, largest prayer event probably ever in this nation's history. Totally manufactured. And as I had pointed out to people in Discord, don't take any sort of hopium that Candace Owens saying no blood means there's going to be a revelation about how these things actually work. No, not at all. They've warped it. They put out the story that the round was lodged in his neck, which is a miracle, but they're saying it's a miracle because ordinarily it would have blasted through a neck and killed somebody else. So that in an act of heroism, Charlie Kirk became a man of steel, and he caught the bullet in between the vertebrae of his spine, saved lives in a final altruistic, heroic act. Like, it's just absurd. But you would think, okay, well, now people are going to say the whole thing's fake. No. They're just saying, oh, it was a smaller round from a different shooter, and Netanyahu pulled the trigger. Like, it's just another conspiracy spin. But the event right now is huge. Unbelievable. Like, any leftist protesters are going to be dwarfed. I don't think George Floyd got this kind of a crowd. They've turned this guy into a martyr. And I was speaking with some relatives last night. I have some older relatives who think it was a squib. And I didn't feed this to them. They don't listen to me. But they're looking online, and they're seeing they're seeing the plausibility of a skin flap over the neck and a tube and blood squirting. And what one of them had pointed out to me was they couldn't figure out this emotional outpouring, especially from the youth, because they'd never heard of the guy. And I'm saying he was propped up on South Park, but he was primarily targeting the youth demographics. And they're weeping. They're crying for this. This guy is definitely to them some kind of a saint or a martyr. And I suggested yesterday that this is the most consequential assassination since JFK. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. And I'm saying so because for all of the youth who watched it, these new rising Christian nationalists, this is their JFK moment. They're having this as a religious experience. This is going to be a formative event for the rest of their lives. Confronting this huge crowd of people, they're all experiencing the same thing. They're worshiping him. This is called apotheosis. And we're talking about the various overlaps between The Tempest and this, and there's quite a lot more. Lots of intriguing bits of predictive programming, concurrent programming, and every other template, everything that you would expect of a hoax, these things are template, is evident here. The idea that this is somehow real is only plausible if you've never paid attention to psychological operations in the past, because this is 100% a template. And one of the things that I was discussing with these relatives is that all of the conspiracy theories that are promoted by the big channels that are given platform are planted there to keep people arguing about the size of the bullet that killed the guy, rather than asking, did he even die? And if your starting point is that he died, your starting point is what I call mainstream mediation. You're living with your nose pressed up against the screen. You're hoodwinked. And that's most people. So it's nice to see some people who are looking at this event dispassionately, objectively, and who aren't jumping to the conclusion of a second or third shooter just because they find it to be fishy. And that's what they want. The binary is there. You buy the official story, or you have to default into one of these other categories, which lumps you in with the loudmouth, the ones who are labeled as racist, anti-Semitic types, like Candace Owens and Ian Carroll and others. And they're all looking terrible right now. Weirdly enough, Nick Fuentes isn't looking that terrible, because he immediately distances himself from all the conspiracy theories, and he's making fun of him. He's like, you're telling me that they got a sniper a couple hundred yards away, an easy shot, and they have to have somebody there doing hand signals. I mean, he's raised some interesting points. Ollie Goering says, people are crying over fake deaths while I'm crying in mourning. Yeah, that's exactly it. People are crying over this person and they've bought into it. But here's the thing too, and this is a huge one. And you need to consider this with every single psychological operation. Like, do you think they planned to do 9/11 in 1995? No, it was planned before the building was built. Do you think they planned to publicly execute Charlie Kirk on 9/10/2025? Do you think they planned it 6 months ago? A month ago? No, it was written into his character. And one of the evidences of this is The Tempest. And if you don't consider perfectly coordinated, released, concurrent programming, PSYOP reinforcement content on a mainstream platform that trends number one, if you don't consider that evidence of a hoax, then your perspective is blinkered and your opinion is rather, I'm just gonna say weak. So my point here is that Charlie Kirk signed up for this gig. You know, and I was talking to one of our persons in Discord, and he's like, do you think that maybe he was forced into it? Did they force him to wear the squib? I'm like, no. This is the gig of a lifetime. You know, he's 18, he's put in this position, he's given this role, and he's like, you're gonna be a martyr. You're gonna achieve godhood in life. And what was he getting in return? You know, it's like Timothy McVeigh, for example. Many think that he's not dead, myself included. Many reasons why we don't. And it appears that he shows up later working some desk job at an FBI office in Miami or something, like later on, you know, decades later. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, what was his payoff? Well, millions of dollars, fame, acclaim, adulation, and he gets to marry Miss Arizona. I don't see the downside. Somebody could offer me $50,000 and a girlfriend that just is emotionally stable, and I'd be like, yeah, I'll do a PSYOP. Like, I think it's a great deal. I think that he got a great deal. But all these people who are crying, all these people out there who are praising him are fools. They've all been deceived. That's the main thing about this, is that we're looking at deception on a mass scale. You're looking at Bread and Circuses 2025. It is so unbelievable. I mean, it's an incontestable power structure that we can do nothing to affect. This is religion. This is modern religion, and it's global. Yeah, Andy, if you want the painting, you have to email me. I can do Cash App. If you send me Cash App, you got to email me your mailing address, and I will ship the painting out tomorrow. I do have a painting of the subway killing. I was thinking about doing a painting of Charlie Kirk and this subway girl and some of these other. I'm doing PSYOP themed paintings. So if you have anything in particular you want me to do, I will. But I was thinking about doing Charlie Kirk wearing a squib. If you have any ideas, and I don't care if they're insensitive from the perspective of the normies out there. I mean, the normies are crying over a made-for-TV drama that they think is real because they've been programmed. Yeah, I don't know if I have Zelle because my phone number has changed, but I do have Cash App. That's the only way I can get money right now. My other accounts are all super negative. But, well, actually, you know what? You can do PayPal. Now that I think about it, you can do PayPal. It's infiniteplanesociety. So last night I got an email from Stripe, one of my payment processors, and they offered me a working capital loan. And I don't like taking loans, but I will take this one, likely tomorrow or the next day, because it'll allow me to fulfill all the past orders and get into a studio so I can set up my desktop and we can take phone calls again. So I should have everything on this tank put back together. The think tank will be fully operational before the end of the month, as I had predicted. I assumed something would come through. I kind of saw that one coming. So anyway, there's this huge event going on right now on the 33rd parallel. Hundreds of thousands of people, hyped up terror threats, which of course, it's going to be Islamic terror, but then the woke right are going to say it's Israel doing it. They've already established these templates. Nothing should surprise us. And everything that we're seeing. Oh, look. So last night, I'm watching that Hulu show, The Tempest. So episode 1, Charlie Kirk-like character. Kirk means church in Scottish. Charlie Kirk-like character gets shot in the neck in a church. He's the leader of the New Republicans, specifically the youth, just like Charlie Kirk. The episode was released on 9/10, the day Kirk was shot. Next episode, the widow says that first of all, the widow she takes over. Just like Erica Kirk comes out, identifies herself as the widow whose cries will echo throughout the world. So now they're referencing her as the widow all of a sudden. So the widow thing lines up. So now you have the widow in the TV show is running for office instead of her deceased husband. So I keep watching, and next she's being coached, and they're explaining to her, you're going to present yourself to the world. You've got to make a good impression. You've got to deliver a triple axle, is what they described. And so they gave her a script. They wrote the widow a script so she could go to the world and talk about her dead husband and her desire to keep the New Republicans going. And they specify there's a line in there where you have to cry. Make sure you cry on cue. That will be your triple axle. No leader gets elected president without shedding tears in public. So it's ironic because the whole appearance of Erica Kirk to the world was a highly scripted, crying, mournful wife appearance. So that TV show on Hulu continues to track with what is happening right now. And I fell asleep watching episode 4, but there's a lot of talk, a lot of buzz about nukes. So that's foreshadowing, just a heads up. And then there's a new TV show coming out, new season of Nashville 911, about this fire department 113. And the premieres on 10/9, I believe. And it has like stuff falling from the sky. And it looks just like what we saw in Fantastic Four. Just like what we saw in a number of movies like Thunderbolts that came out at the same time. The thing coming down from the sky seems to be a reoccurring theme in the predictive programming psyop reinforcement content. J5 says Charlie Kirk is dead. What's your evidence for that? You may believe it. Doesn't make it true. It may look real on TV. Doesn't make it real. I worry for some people who go to magic shows. It's like, if you really think that seeing is believing, what can't you be convinced of? I'm developing a concept here. I'm actually going to write out a blog post on it, on the blindfolded skeptic, because I think that we should be at the point where we can deconstruct a staged event without solely relying upon the deconstruction of the visuals. It's mostly narrative. Lord, a painting like a blurry Macron's wife and Candace Owens peeking around a corner. That's good. Oh yeah, her eyes all bugged. Okay. And I'll use AI to render the source that I'll paint from. Oh, Breek says, I was leaning on real first day or so. Hey, I was leaning on real the second I saw it. Because you have to ask yourself, is this an extraordinary claim? Is there anything attached to this that would lead you to think it was planned in advance? And you wouldn't know. You can't just believe headlines. You can't just believe what you see on the screen. You got to wait a few days and get more intel. Like if you said, I knew it was true the second it happened, I'm sorry, you didn't have enough info to know it was true. If you said, I knew it was fake the moment it happened, I'm going to say, sorry, you didn't have enough info to know it was fake. I refer to these two categories as auto-belief and auto-disbelief, or rather, low information belief and low information disbelief. Both of these positions need to be rejected. They're non-skeptical. They don't require a suspension of judgment. They don't require additional info. It's basically just people going with their cognitive bias. What I endorse here is informed disbelief. And so the difference between my take and J5, who's crying for Charlie Kirk, is that I have enough information to contradict the idea that this is an organic, real event. First of all, if it was real, why would you have so many plausible, planted conspiracy theory narratives attached to it? being hyped up by known controlled opposition agents. A chorus of shills with their all of them with a different angle, different shooter, a different theory. That's not real life. And they're drowning out any real objective analysis that asks, did it even happen? Or what about the fact that immediately after they were able to call to task the CEOs of all the various social media channels and shut Jimmy Kimmel down, and then label Antifa as terrorists, and then brand trans shooters as like a new threat, all of a sudden, these agendas accelerated with the full blessing of the public. The public's like, yep, I get. Right-wingers are like, you know what, you guys, let's just go ahead and sacrifice our First Amendment. Let's go ahead and embrace cancel culture and gun control because Kirk got shot. So this thing reeks of agenda. So you could say, well, maybe it was real and they were just poised. They were already prepared to put all this stuff. No way. And one of the other things, too, I was talking about early on was because I have a background in, I was an embalmer, decedent transporter. And one of my jobs was transporting bodies from the crime scene or death scene to the morgue, from the morgue to the funeral home, from the funeral home to the cemetery. And there's something strange to me about somebody dying of a gunshot wound. They wipe the crime scene clean without even putting crime scene tape up. They don't even call an ambulance. And for 3,000 people at an event, there was sure a lack of ambulances. And then within 24 hours, because on 9/11, they wanted to parade him around. He's already been autopsied, embalmed, dressed, put in a casket, and now he's being transported with the vice president in this unprecedented, dignified military transport thing on Air Force 2 on 9/11. The whole thing's a PR stunt. The whole thing is a PR stunt. All of it, start to finish. And Charlie Kirk was always an actor in this. And then there's so many factors here, or so many little facets, like, for example, the irony of his last words referencing shooters and his own opinions about guns coming back to haunt him. We have plenty to go off of here when we're deconstructing these psyops without even saying, I can tell it's fake because it looks fake. No, it doesn't have to look fake. And we can't assume that in the future, things are going to be looking terrible as they always do. Their special effects are getting better, like it or not, and they're only going to improve. They're probably improving by listening to critics such as us. So there's going to be a point where you will not be able to rely upon the visuals alone to discern real from fake. You need a better operating system, not a belief system founded on the trust or faith you have in media, which is an appeal to authority, but based on a perspective change. And what is your perspective? Is your perspective mainstream mediation? I trust what I see automatically. Is it MSM plus, which means I don't trust the mainstream. I find additional conspiracy theories satisfy me. Or do you take the subtractive route, the negative route, the skeptical path, where you remove what you can't verify, you admit what you can't know, and you build from there? And that's what we are advocating here, the off-world stage perspective. And if you don't have an off-world stage perspective, you don't know about the cumulative effect of fake news over many decades. You don't know the significance of psychological operations that are consistently augmenting our news cycles. And you don't know about fakeability and special effects. If you don't know that the world stage is merely a model, a selective version, if you don't know these things, your opinions are MSM. It's like you can ignore what ChatGPT says about 9/11. You can ignore what MSM perspective people say about any fake event. You can ignore what any MSM plus conspiracy theorist says about any event from here on out, because you know their perspectives. You know how they arrive there. Yeah, Candace Owens talked about the no blood thing, and I called that out. It was going to be just another excuse to make conspiracy theorists look unhinged, and that's exactly what's happened. This was better than Butler in many ways. And I don't know if it's just because Trump is not as good of an actor or something. I don't know. But the thing is, we're critics, and we're like, yeah, that was terrible. That's a 2-star performance. But the masses are convinced. The voters are convinced. So if it fools the people in the world of MSM and MSM Plus, it's good enough. The conspiracy theorists still think that Donald Trump was shot. They just think he was shot by Israel. The conspiracy theorists don't even think these days. They just react. Their go-to is everything the mainstream says except Israel. That's every single issue. It's actually boring at this point. And Nick Fuentes called them low IQ, and I totally get that now. Because they didn't go from, I don't trust the mainstream because I like to think critically, and I have a methodology based on skepticism. No, they leave mainstream because they're going with the reactionary counterculture, and they're not even thinking. It just goes from belief to alt-belief. Like, oh, look, these guys are in Plato's cave. Then they go in the cave next door with alternative shadows. They haven't left. Reality Witness says they didn't use a ketchup bottle with Kirk. Yeah, Dark Ghost Win, good point. According to conspiracy theorists, Kirk was on their side. Speaking of ketchup bottles, and my battery's down to 2%. 60 days before JFK was, quote, assassinated, Jackie Kennedy and he were making a movie with the help of the Secret Service in which they simulated the death of JFK. And guess what they used for fake blood? Heinz 57. Exactly. And the director of the Manchurian Candidate, which contains predictive programming for the JFK assassination, was physically present. He drove RFK to the Ambassador Hotel where he was killed. And that guy directed that movie Black Sunday about the blimp and a terror attack at a stadium, which may have some relevance today. I don't know. Has anybody seen the Goodyear blimp? Anyway, we'll be live much longer later today, and we're going to try to do a Zoom conference again this evening. My email address, if you want to email me, it's timosmond007@gmail.com. Thanks for joining. I wish I had more time. My phone's about to die. Thanks for joining X322, Marcel, Reality Witness, Obrique. And I know we have some new members here. So if you're a new member, you will get a link to the Discord. I'll be sending out new links. That'd be Brenda M, LG, Mike, Archangel, Flatlander, Montgomery, and Mimsy Schwimsy, courtesy of Marcel. And if you just got the blue wrench, make sure you go check your front porch. It's a blue titanium, about 18 inches long. It'll be leaning against your door. If it's not there, check your doorbell cam, because people go on your porches and they will steal shit. What's up, King Ravana, William Morgan? Squib World Order, exactly. He wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest. He was wearing a squib. And I came across a video last night. It's in our Gilded. And it's pretty much a squib. You can look at it. You got to go frame by frame. But we're going to try to do Zoom later. That way we can all have a open panel conversation. So we'll see you then.